Settle in because today we're diving into a story that, well, it really offers a surprising kind of blueprint for personal growth. Have you ever felt that pull, that intense desire to master a new skill, but something maybe like an unseen wall just held you back? Could be learning an instrument, coding, or perhaps a new language. Today we're going to unpack how a small act of courage can genuinely blossom into something, well, globally impactful.
Exactly. And our deep dive today, it traces this really extraordinary journey of Lena, a young woman from Poland. We'll explore how her personal path to English fluency didn't just change her life, but it became this huge catalyst for millions around the world. Our sources, they really reveal the specific turning points, those moments of, raw courage that shaped her story. And we'll look at the underlying principles that made her success so profound.
Okay, so let's unpack where Lena's story actually began. She was, a pretty regular girl from a small town in Poland, living a peaceful, maybe a little too quiet life. From a young age, though, she was drawn to English. She'd listen to Taylor Swift songs, trying to figure out every lyric, and watch movies, repeating lines right along with the actors. Fun, but here's the core challenge she faced, and it's one that resonates with so many of us. She'd tell herself, I know the words in my head, but when I open my mouth, nothing comes out. This internal block, it was especially obvious at university. She was studying graphic design, and her introduction to web design, of course, it was taught in English. Now, while it was her absolute favorite subject, it was also, well, her biggest fear, mostly because she was just so reluctant to ask questions or, participate in class.
Right. And that internal conflict, that push and pull between wanting to learn and being paralyzed by the fear of mistakes, it's incredibly common. It's what psychologists sometimes call uh, perfectionism paralysis. It's like a cognitive trap where the anxiety of not being perfect just completely short circuits the desire to even begin. Lena's breakthrough wasn't really about getting rid of that fear, but about prioritizing action despite it. That's a crucial distinction, I think.
Absolutely. And then boom, 2020 arrived. It shifted everything, didn't it? The pandemic hit, everything shut down, classes went online, and her cafe job just gone. So day after day, she found herself stuck and frankly bored. One evening, just lying on her bed, she decided to open TikTok. First time ever. What she found there was, well, genuinely surprising to her. It wasn't just these highly polished, perfect videos. No, it was, as she put it, real people sharing their lives, learning, growing, laughing. She had girls from Brazil practicing English, boys from Turkey talking about their day, even teachers sharing quick grammar tips, and importantly, all of them speaking English, imperfectly. That night, something shifted. A tiny, brave whisper escaped her lips. Maybe I can try too. So the very next day, she sat down in front of her phone, a mix of nerves and, I guess, excitement. She pressed record and said, hi, my name's Lena. I'm from Poland. I want to practice English here. Don't laugh at me, please. Wait, you can actually hear this little nervous laugh at the end of the clip we found. And she said she almost deleted it right then and there. But instead, she uploaded it.
Wow, it's really compelling, isn't it? How a moment of such raw vulnerability, something she almost erased, became the ignition point for everything that followed. This perfectly illustrates what we sometimes call the vulnerability trust paradox.
Yeah.
See, when Lena chose authenticity, being real over trying to seem perfect, she didn't just invite support, she actually created this sort of psychological safe space. People don't really connect with flawlessness, they connect with shared humanity, right? And Lena's radical honesty, it became this powerful catalyst for a true community, not just like an audience watching her.
And what happened next was, well, it's truly remarkable. She closed the app, went to sleep, really not expecting anything at all. But the next morning, her phone was just buzzing like crazy. She had 10,000 views, 500 comments, 3,000 new followers overnight. And people were incredibly kind. Messages just flooded in. Things like, you're amazing, Lena. Your English is really good. Let's learn together. Don't be shy. We're proud of you. She was completely overcome with emotion. She cried. Lena just didn't expect this kind of reaction at all. She felt something totally new hope. And this initial burst of encouragement, it just fundamentally changed her trajectory. That very same day, she recorded another video. This one was about her favorite English word, sunshine. And she invited others to share theirs, which, again, led to another surge of comments and interaction. So day by day, she consistently shared her learning journey. It became her thing. She'd make videos trying tongue twisters, reading English poems out loud, telling short stories, even acting out little restaurant scenes, just showcasing her creativity and, importantly, her honesty and her audience. It grew at this astonishing pace. 1 month later, Lena had 50,000 followers. Just 3 months after starting, that number shot up to 300,000. And get this, by the end of that first year, she had over 1 million followers.
Incredible. And something else, something equally significant, had changed right alongside her follower count, her English itself. She was noticeably more fluent. You could just hear it. Now, she still made small grammar mistakes, sure, who doesn't? But that paralyzing fear, it was basically gone. She could express her ideas, she could tell jokes, she could even start explaining difficult grammar rules to beginners in a simple way. People started calling her the English girl from Poland.
Wow.
And she apparently just beamed, smiled so big when she heard that. Her journey wasn't just about learning vocabulary lists, it was about embodying progress and really inspiring others. This consistent effort, by the way, it's like a textbook example of atomic habits in practice. By making these daily, small, almost trivial commitments, a tongue twister here, a short story there, Lena leveraged the compound effect of micro wins. She wasn't just building skills, she was building this unshakable identity as an English speaker.
Yeah, that identity shift is huge. And her impact, it went far beyond just her own personal growth. One day, she received an email from a teacher in India. It simply read, "Hi, Lena. My students watch your videos in class. They feel more confident because of you. Thank you for being brave." Huh, wow. Lena was apparently moved to tears again. That night, she made her most emotional video yet. It went on to get like 10 million views. She said, I was just a shy girl in a small town. I never thought anyone would listen to me. Now you all give me courage every day. Thank you. If I can learn English, so can you.
That's just, yeah, a profound statement. And it raises a really fascinating question, doesn't it? How did her vulnerability, shared so publicly like that, create such a powerful reciprocal effect? Courage, sparking courage in others, because it feels like more than just, oh, I relate to that, right? It's maybe about leveraging social learning theory, where people learn not just by being taught directly, but by observing others, especially peers, seeing imperfect peers like themselves trying and actually succeeding. That was maybe infinitely more motivating than watching polished, unattainable examples. Her rawness, her imperfection, it created this kind of permission structure for others to also be imperfect, to just try.
It really did. But Lena's story was far from over, not even close. One morning, she received a message that quite literally made her heart stop, or skip a beat anyway. "Hi, Lena. We're from BBC Learning English. We love your content. Would you like to join our next live event in London?" She just gasped. Apparently, her hands were shaking so much her mom thought something terrible had happened. But when Lena read the message aloud, her mom just hugged her tightly and exclaimed, "You're going to London, baby."
Oh.
So for the very first time, Lena bought a plane ticket. For the very first time, she packed her suitcase not just for vacation, but, well, for her dream. She arrived in London, her first time ever in the UK, stepped out of the airport and just whispered to herself, "I made it." Walking into the actual BBC building, she said it was totally surreal. Studio lights, cameras everywhere, people speaking this fluent English all around her. It felt like a movie. She was nervous, definitely, but also incredibly happy. Okay, so the live show began that evening. Lena sat on a panel with a UK teacher and a Nigerian student who was also really popular for her English learning journey on TikTok. The host turned to Lena and asked, how her journey began. Lena took a deep breath and delivered her core message very simply. She said, "I started learning English in school, like many people, but I was always afraid to speak. Then during the pandemic, I started posting short videos online just to practice. I never expected anyone to watch. But they did." She paused there, apparently. "At first, I made many mistakes, but the people online were kind. They didn't laugh. They supported me, and I kept going. I think the key to learning is not being perfect. It's about being brave."
That simple honest approach, just laying it out there, embracing the imperfections, focusing on the courage to start. It just resonated so deeply with the audience, you can tell. You could even hear the teacher next to her start clapping, sort of validating that powerful message right there on the spot. It really highlights a fundamental truth about effective communication, doesn't it? That authenticity, being real, it often trumps perceived perfection, especially when you're trying to build connection.
Absolutely. And after the show, wow, Lena received hundreds of new messages, people saying she inspired them to finally start speaking English themselves, others asking for advice, tips. Some even wanted to meet her in person while she was in London. So Lena stayed in London for a whole week. She visited museums, met up with some followers, and recorded this amazing viral video from right outside Buckingham Palace. She just joyfully declared, "Hi guys, I can't believe I'm here. This is where I used to see the Queen on the news. Now I'm standing here speaking English in London." Just pure joy. Back in Poland, she was welcomed almost like a local celebrity. It was kind of a big deal. Local newspapers wrote articles about her. Schools invited her to come and speak to students. So her next venture, she started a small online course called English Without Fear. And it wasn't just about grammar drills or vocabulary lists. No, it was truly, as she put it, about building confidence. That was the core. Each week, she also started recording these little podcast episodes where she'd share her own mistakes, favorite expressions, even funny stories, like the time she completely misunderstood "you all right" in London, thinking someone was genuinely asking if she looked sick. We've all been there, right? And then came yet another incredible opportunity. It just kept coming. A publisher, this time from the UK, reached out, asking if she'd be interested in writing a book about her journey, her journey. Write a whole book. She couldn't believe it at first. Total shock. But then she remembered what she always told her followers, her own advice, really. If you can speak one sentence, you can speak two. If you can speak two, well, you can speak 100. So she said yes.
And that choice, deciding to write the book, it really underscores the profound power of, well, iterative progress, step by step. And that unwavering self-belief she'd cultivated, each small, brave step just accumulated, didn't it, into these monumental achievements. It really transformed her self-perception from someone who learns English to someone who speaks English, someone who uses it, and that's a
Yeah.
huge identity shift.
Totally. The book, it was titled Speak Brave, My English Story. And it quickly became a bestseller, especially among language learners. It wasn't just her story, though. It was practical. A guide filled with tips, exercises, and just tons of encouragement. It included these really powerful chapter titles like "Talk Like Nobody's Watching," "Your Accent is Beautiful," and "Mistakes Make You Stronger." Messages just poured in from readers all over the world. Things like, "Your book gave me courage. I read it every morning before my English class. I'm not afraid to speak anymore." Just incredible impact. A year later, Lena was invited to speak at a major global language learning conference, a really big stage. She stood up there, looked out at the crowd, and delivered this really powerful speech. She said, "I'm not a native speaker. I still make mistakes, but that's okay, because English is not about being perfect. It's about being understood. It's about connection." And the crowd, they rose to their feet, gave her a standing ovation. So today, Lena continues her incredible work. She's still posting videos, recording her podcast, meeting learners globally, online, and sometimes in person. And she now speaks not only English and Polish fluently, but also she's learning basic Spanish and French, still pushing herself. Her consistent message to everyone, though, remains the same. It's simple but powerful. Start small. Be kind to yourself. Don't wait to be perfect. The world is waiting to hear your voice.
Yeah, and if you really boil it down, Lena achieved this global impact not through, fancy, expensive classes or by immediately moving abroad. None of that was the key. She achieved it primarily by cultivating just one thing: courage. The courage to start, the courage to be seen failing, the courage to keep going. And perhaps that's the most powerful lesson for you listening right now, that maybe, just maybe, that courage, the courage to take the first imperfect step, is often the only truly indispensable resource you need for whatever skill you're looking to master.
Absolutely. So as you go about your week, maybe think about that. Consider a personal goal you've been putting off, deferring because of that familiar fear of not being good enough, of imperfection. What small, brave step could you take this week, maybe even today, without waiting to be perfect, just to finally begin? Because, as Lena shows us, the world really is waiting to hear your voice.